look at what Mrs. Fields did, what Great American Cookie did, what Insomnia Cookies did, and these are three companies that have been around for 45, and 20 years that all have multiple hundred stores. Like, why? Well, they do a centralized production model to lower the break-even point.
Hello and welcome to Starting Small. My name is Cameron Nagle, and what you're about to hear is a resilient story to an entrepreneur's journey over the brand that we know and consume today. At Starting Small, I believe that everyone has a story to tell under one philosophy. Everyone starts small. Even these founders have once started where you are, in their parents' kitchen, basement, out of a wagon, and many more. At Starting Small, we discuss the strategies used, the obstacles overcome, and the successes of an entrepreneur's journey. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Starting Small, and make sure to leave a review to let us know how you enjoyed it. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Starting Small. Today, I'm joined by Bennett Maxwell of Dirty Dough. Bennett, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, appreciate it. I'm excited to be on.
Of course. So I'd like to start out with your upbringing. Where did you grow up, and what would you say your childhood was like?
Grew up in Orem, Utah. Number 7 of 9 kids.
Wow.
So large family, raised by my mom mainly. So anyways, it was always a party at our house, I guess.
For sure. So yeah, what was that like? Did you have an entrepreneurial mindset? Would you say lemonade stands with your siblings or selling products?
No, I definitely did that. Did the lemonades, bought a little shaved ice machine, went out to the corner, sold candy bars.
Wow.
In elementary and junior high, I think I was doing a lawn aeration.
Wow.
So knocking doors, and then somebody else would come behind me and do the aeration itself. So
wow.
Anyways, yeah, kind of funny. It's kind of just always been in me to do that. And then going into sports, in order to pay for sports, I had to go sell whatever. It was either cookie dough or it was like the starving student card, something like that. But I'd always go and sell those, because it was either that or you pay for it. And I'm like, well, I don't have the money to pay for it, so I'm gonna go knock some doors.
Yeah, for sure. So did you end up going to college then? And then if so, what did you study going there?
Yeah, I was going to college. My idea was to do pre-med. So I was taking all my chemistries and all the super fun classes. And I was majoring in Spanish just because I thought that was the quickest way out to get into med school.
Yeah.
I ended up dropping out just with the semester left of pre-med. I didn't start going to med school. So super big into education. That's always been a very big focus of my life. Like I graduated, high school with the 4.0 and all the, lots of college credits and all that. So it wasn't about the education. It was about, I wanted to kind of change my career path. I wanted to get into professional sales. So I'm like, I'm going to dedicate the same amount of time that I was going to go to college for. But I'm going to do that in sales and, through podcasts, through books, through a number of things.
Did you end up switching your degree then to get into that sales avenue, or what did that look like when you're switching that aspiration?
No, I mean, I just dropped out.
You dropped out. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I took a break, because when some people you drop out, they're not ecstatic about that. So I took an indefinite break. And it was really just sales books, podcasts, role playing. And I started doing the summer sales stuff, which is very popular in Utah. And I saw that in, the 4 to 5 months, I was making as much as I could make as a doctor in a year. In 4 to 5 months, I'm like, this is a much better, family life. And anyways, I thought my wife was kind of going to be disappointed when I said, hey, I'm going to drop out. I'm not going to be a doctor. And she's like, that's awesome. It's like, she was very supportive, because she's like, now, the doctor's life, studying and all that is intensive. So we've got to enjoy a lot more free time with the sales career that we've gone down. For sure.
And I presume that a lot of this has led into your venture now. So where does cookies come into play here, especially with Dirty Dough? Does this come off your sales avenue?
So I was doing sales and I heard a crumble, and I'm like, oh, that would be sweet to own a franchise.
Yeah.
So I contacted them, and I was going down that process until they're like, no, you have to operate it. Like you have to live there and run it day to day. And I'm like, ooh, like that's cool, but I didn't want to buy my job, right? That's exactly what they were requiring me to do. So I was like, I wanted to add to my sales income and my sales career, not, replace it. So, but that got me interested in cookies. And then somebody posts on Facebook. So I didn't found Dirty Dough actually. It was already started in Arizona, but by a guy I went to high school with, Tyler Peary. And he posts on Facebook, hey, I'm looking for some money to go from delivery only out of my apartment to an actual storefront. So I'm like, oh, that's a passive investment. Yeah. So I threw him some money, and he opened it up, did an amazing job with it. But a few months after it was open, I'm like, hey, let's franchise this. I'm in San Diego. I was running a solar company at the time. I'm in San Diego. Let's franchise this. And he's like, you know what? I'm not wanting to franchise. I'm burnt out. This restaurant industry kind of sucks. So I ended up purchasing the company from him with the idea of, if I can make this so simple that I could run it, because I have no food experience, I have no franchise experience. I live in San Diego. This is a single cookie store shop in Arizona. Then, hey, that's a good model. So that's what I was set out to do. And the goal's always been to make the most simplistic food franchise model. And I think we've got it. I think it's very, very simple what we've been able to build.
For sure. When you took over, what was it just him still at this point? And what was transferred to you?
So it was when I invested, it was me and my two brothers.
Okay.
There's three of us that came in, and then it was Tyler and his wife, Kina. So when I purchased it, I bought out both my brothers, and then I bought out all of Tyler and all of Kina's. So I was the sole owner of it. And then I brought on a partner.
I see. So at this point, then, you said you had no background in baking or anything. Did you take on like any recipes? What did that infrastructure especially look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a pre-existing, like the store was operational, and I'm just like, hey, hire managers because I can't manage. And then, we got all the recipes, the branding, all that. Now, and it was good. But we've redone everything. I mean, the name is the same, but the logo and the colors and the branding and the packaging and every single recipe is completely new.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm curious, in those early days, especially with one restaurant, what was your main marketing strategies that were working for you? Kind of maybe implementing some stuff that you've seen that Crumble worked with to really attract new customers.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I took over, they'd never actually spent $1 on advertisements. It was like, I'm taking the pictures. The wife was taking the pictures and posting them. I mean, they were doing a great job, but it was all organic. Yeah. So we went pretty much directly to, let's get professional pictures done and videos, because these are big giant cookies and they're fun. And then let's, throw those on, Facebook, all the paid ads. Right now we do geofencing as well. So like if you walk into a competitor store, we're going to target you with the Dirty Dough ad. So, and that's been working well as well.
For sure. With that marketing, what would you say is your main demographic for the cookies? I know it's so widespread. Everyone enjoys cookies, but can you dial that in?
It's the 25 to 45-year-old female with, so mom typically buying cookies for her kids. Yep. So a lot of college kids, will buy it as well, but that's the primary demographic is the moms.
Amazing. So what was that point where you decided that you wanted to then open up another franchise? Where was that in your spot in this business? And also where was that location, that next location?
Yeah. So when I bought the company, I knew I was going to franchise it. Like that's why I was buying it. But it took a little bit of time to kind of figure out the processes because everything was being produced in the store. And I just thought like, man, can we go open up another 100 of these, 1,000 of these and expect each franchisee to order their own ingredients, deal with their own waste? Because when you do weekly rotating flavors, that's very high waste. What do you do with your blueberries after the blueberry cookie's gone, right? Yeah. So very high waste. I'm like, man, I don't think we can scale with the quality control that we want, constantly hiring teenagers to mix the batches and then they mess up and either you throw that away or you serve it anyway and, you get bad reviews. So it's like, how do we take that off the franchisee's plate and make it a lot easier for them? And it's like, okay, well, let's look at what Mrs. Fields did, what Great American Cookie did, what Insomnia Cookies did. And these are three companies that have been around for 45, and 20 years that all have multiple hundred stores. Like, why? Well, they do a centralized production model to lower the break-even point. So you can weather those recessions, right? So if you centralize all your production, you get large discounts on your flour, sugar, butter, because you can go directly to the source rather than a third-party distributor. And you can also buy large quantities, a truck full rather than a 50-pound bag. So you get large discounts. Then we mix hundreds of cookies at a time with a few highly trained bakers and then run it through a machine that portions the dough pucks exactly, and it gives us our unique 3-layer cookie. So you look at a cookie, it looks like a peanut butter cookie, but when you break it open, there's chocolate dough in the middle, and in the very center, there's hot fudge. It's like you can't make that by hand. So it's giving us a more unique product that kind of keeps out the competition. Because I mean, a cookie's a cookie, so I'm not going to say that it's so novel, right? But we try to differentiate it in doing that. And then now we just ship out pre-portioned dough pucks to the franchisees. They just grab a dough puck, pop it in the oven, and it's like, how do you mess that up? I mean, maybe you trip, maybe you don't hear the timer go off, right? It's just very, very simple. So it required a lot more initial capital. I mean, we had to become a food production company. We had to become a logistics company.
For sure.
But we did it to make it as simple as possible for those franchisees. And our first franchise opened up in June. So just 2 months ago. And then our second one just opened up maybe 2 weeks ago. I think we have 2 more stores opening in this weekend. So now they're just starting to roll out.
That's awesome. If you can bring us through like a day in logistics for the company, what does that look like when production hits, delivery hits? What is that turnaround time? Because you want the cookies to be fresh. I know you deliver pucks now, you said. So what does the logistics look like from the factory to franchisee?
We require them to order 2 weeks in advance. So we could order all of the ingredients and make those and then ship them out to them. So 2 weeks is when they're getting them, and then we will ship about 2 weeks at a time. And then, I mean, they're being baked fresh pretty much every hour of the day. So the freshness, there's no difference in the freshness. It's just, were they produced, 10 feet away or 10 miles away? Right. So it's a way that, and we did a lot of testing and, how do we make this as predictable and as consistent as possible without it, changing the taste. And so we did up to 6 months of blind taste tests. And I mean, dough and just baking in general does really well stored and frozen. I mean, it's just, it doesn't change it.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to hear about the R&D process that goes behind making like a new flavor. Do you take franchisee opinions? How does that look as a collaborative effort, especially?
Yeah, well, what we were doing, we have a chef and he'll make some cookies, and then we have another guy that's making some cookies. And then they take them to 40. Usually we've been going to an elementary school, like during the break, and it's the teachers, right? That's our target demographic. And then they're rating it based on appearance and based on crunchiness and thickness and whatever, and then just overall best. And then we take the best rated cookies, and those are what makes it into rotation. And then we get a lot of ideas. Like I post on LinkedIn this was a cookie name, but I'm sure we could do the same thing with flavors, because people are always messaging us, oh, you need to do an XYZ cookie. But within like 2 days, we had 700 comments of like, what I said, what would you name this 3-layer cookie? So anyways, it's fun to get the community and, social media involved, and we want to do more of that going forward.
For sure. What does your vision look like in expanding maybe further from Utah? Is that in the pipeline, and do you know a timeline, maybe a possibility of that?
So we've already sold, 120 something stores. So Utah sold out. Arizona's almost sold out. We have a lot going in Vegas, Idaho, a dozen going in Denver, and then we have some in the Midwest, a few dozen in Texas.
Wow.
We did 6, I think, yesterday in Oklahoma. So we're going. My vision is, I guess the mission statement that I live by, and that's now Dirty Doughs, it's to find joy and fulfillment despite life's dirtiness in myself and others. So and I threw in despite life's dirtiness, obviously to tie in with the company, but also because that's what I believe. Like, don't wait for perfection to find joy and fulfillment, right? Like you can find it with the dirtiness or the messiness in life. You don't need to wait for the perfection. So with that being said, in my mind, how do you get joy and fulfillment? Well, it's your mental health, or how strong are you mentally? And so that's the whole Dirty Dough focus. It's all mental health focused. And if you see all of our messaging, like I described that 3-layer cookie, it's what's on the inside that matters most. Like that's the tagline. You look at our box, it says life's messy and that's okay. One says like, get in touch with your feelings, but spelled like the filling of a cookie. So, but the big vision is, how do we change mental health and be proactive about it? And we're deciding to do wellness centers in schools. So we'll call up a K through 12 school and say, hey, do you have an old classroom that we can convert to a wellness center? And a wellness center is somewhere that kids can come for 10, 15 minutes and be educated on how to be proactive with their mental health. So breathing exercises or happiness mindset or guided meditation, whatever those things are. So they can now learn to deal with the stressors of life. And hopefully we can make a little dent in the social, in the mental health crisis that we're going on. So big vision is 1,000 stores by the end of 2026 with 1,000 wellness centers. And then we'll have, several tens of thousands of employees that we also pay for mental health, like life guidance service for them at a corporate level. We pay for that for all of our franchisees. So that's the big vision. The secondary vision is we're lowering the barrier of entry for entrepreneurship. So to be an entrepreneur, you need a game plan, you need time, money, and expertise. So the game plan is provided in the franchise model. The money required to open up one of these compared to like a Crumble, we're less than half on average. The time required to run on one of these is much less. We don't require it to be full time. This can actually be, a semi-passive investment as long as you have a good operator in place, because you're dealing with less than half the labor, no quality, almost no quality control. And then the expertise required, you asked me about baking cookies. I've never mixed a batch of cookies, and I don't think I ever will, because I don't need to, right? And neither do the franchisees. You don't need baking experience. So that's my other goal. I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship, and I want to have other people become an entrepreneur and own a business, and mitigate the risks as much as possible. Obviously, there's still going to be risks, but that's the secondary goal that I have with Dirty Dough.
Wow. You explained it so well there, but I'm curious if you can define what differentiates Dirty Dough from maybe your main competitors today. If that's product wise, philosophy wise, etc. What would you say that is?
The philosophy and the purpose is definitely different, but talking on the business aspect, the products, we do 3-layer cookies. We don't do frostings, and other people do frostings, but it's like, a cookie's a cookie. I don't think anybody's going to be the best brand anyways. It's the model. It's the simplicity of the model. Because I look at going back to the best cookie. Look at our reviews. We have amazing reviews. We have a really good cookie. I've never cared about having the best cookie. I just want a really good cookie that's very consistent, because that's what's going to allow us to realize the vision and grow the biggest, the quickest, right? Because you look at, does Taco Bell have the best Mexican food? Does Panda Express have the best Chinese food? Does McDonald's have the best hamburger, or Little Caesars the best pizza? Like, no, in all cases. But they have the best consistency, branding, and you know what you're going to get, right? So that's what we're going for. And I think we're getting lucky, because we also have a very highly rated product that customers prefer if you just rate it by taste as well.
For sure. So I would like to kind of finish with this. What would you say is the top seller, if you have an idea?
Chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip?
The chocolate chip. The good classic chocolate chip. Followed by, we have, because we do a few more, we do 4 permanent flavors. And anyways, I'm going to throw this one out there because it's my favorite. It's the toaster tart. So it's kind of like a Pop-Tart looking cookie, but it's filled with raspberry. Because these are portioned with the machine, we can fit more fillings inside than you can ever do by hand. And every other cookie company does it by hand. So you get a lot more filling in there, which in my opinion makes it a lot more flavorful.
For sure. Well, I like to conclude each episode with this. If you could share one piece of advice with an aspiring entrepreneur, maybe something you've learned along the way, or maybe regret, what would you say that would be?
The best book that I've read, so that's what I'm going to lean on, The E-Myth Revisited. It teaches you how to work yourself out of the business as quickly as possible, so you could work on it rather than in it. So before you start a business, we didn't get into like the solar at all, but my brother taught me that when I partnered him with my solar company, and within 18 months, we sold the company because we started with the E-Myth in mind. Did the same thing with Dirty Dough. And within a year, I had a CEO. Right now I don't have any actual responsibilities. So I can be doing my podcast, right? Or I can be meeting with people or putting out whatever I need to be doing. Nobody relies on me for anything, which frees my time to work on the business rather than in the business. I got all of those tips on how to do that from the E-Myth Revisited.
Amazing. Well, Bennett, thank you so much for joining me today. And to the listeners out there, make sure to check out Dirty Dough at dirtydoughcookies.com.